Hi, and welcome to How to View ASCII Data in Business Central. Hey, I'm Eric, and you might have seen that in some of my other videos I use something to show source code, show XML, show JSON, show ASCII data with syntax highlighting, formatting directly in BC. And I thought they would be pretty cool to do a video on how I actually do that. I'm sorry about my house is still a mess after the water damage, and stuff is still getting. This room has to be redecorated, but that's not a video. No, that will never be a video. Anyway, let's get to it. So what I have been using is something called ascii, and this is an old JavaScript based editor. Ascii is maintained as the primary editor for Cloud9 IDE and is the successor of the Mozilla Skywriter, the Beeswing project. So you can get a box in a web page where you can, in this case, I'm writing JavaScript, and there's text highlighting and source code highlighting. So this is actually pretty cool. What you cannot see, learn how to embed this in your own site. So let's look at this, and we can see here's a complete page. And what do we have? We don't really have anything. Almost. We can see that here is a piece of script saying var editor equal ace.edit and editor. So that's an element, and in this case, this is this div element here, and inside this there's just some text, meaning that the content of this div is actually what we're editing. So this is actually pretty cool. There's some set of theme and set mode, which in this case we'll set it to JavaScript. And we grab an ascii.js file. So from this aspect, it looks pretty simple, and it is simple because I've already implemented this in several places. And you can get pre-built version of Ace from Ace Builds repository. So from this repository you can grab, there's a minified and not minified, so you can see here there's the ascii.json. It's a big file. Come on, you can do it. GitHub. Come on, there we go. 21,000 lines of code. Well, let me not use the Windows key here. Let me get back. Come on. What I wanted to show you guys before I lost the ability to navigate a web page. So there's the base of it. Then there's a bunch of extensions: search box, settings menu, spell check, splits, tons of stuff that you can do. Some key bindings if you want key bindings. Modes, and modes are different languages, which is actually pretty cool. Some of them are really cool, actually, meaning that, let me show you PHP, because that's one of the cool ones. So think about a PHP page. What is that? Well, in reality, it's an HTML page that has a PHP tag. So you have two languages in the same file. Kind of what we have with AL also, by the way. So in this case, this one has, let's see where we can find it. So we have some CSS because HTML. I think there's a million pages here, by the way. So now we get into JavaScript because there's also JavaScript on the PHP page. Let's go. And now we get into PHP. So we actually have multiple source highlighters built into the same mode. So this is pretty cool. And if we scroll down, we can see that there's tons of languages supported. Tons of languages. And then we have some I scrolled over those. There's some themes, so we can have different colors and the UI. And then at the end, the worker module, which I haven't used. So no clue how those actually works. So anyway, so what you do is that you grab the files from here that you think would matter, and so at least you need the ascii.js, and then if you want to support specific colorizations for specific types of source and your specific theme, then you grab those also. And let me see if I can find Visual Studio Code. Here it is. Let me make it so big so you guys can see what goes on here. This is what I have done. So before I started the video, I grabbed ascii.js, an extension search box, HTML mode, JavaScript mode, JSON mode, Pascal mode, because if we want to do some AL code, and PHP, and then 2 themes, and that's it. So let's make this work in Business Central. So the first thing we will need is let's actually create that in here, is a user add-in, and control add-in. Wow, this is late night here in British Columbia, by the way. I've been skiing today, so my legs are tired, so hopefully I don't make too many mistakes. So I will name this source editor. So this is a control add-in, and control add-in do not have any IDs, so they simply have a name. And then we need to, do scripts equal source. Wow, source editor ascii.js. So we need to specify the sources that we have here. Otherwise, even though we have them in here, they will not be transferred and made available on the let me do source editor extension JS. Wow, .js and source editor mode let me just do Pascal, so we can do that, and then source editor theme Dracula, because this is basically the same as the one I'm using in my Visual Studio Code. So you have seen these colors over and over again. I could add some more, but you don't want to just watch me typing and typing. Then remember, a control add-in has those 2 required source files. One is called the startup script. So this is the script that runs when the control is loaded. So we will do source editor and call it startup.js. Let me see if I can do this without too many arrows. And then the other one is actually just a script, so we'll add it up here. So this is where we'll create the I'll just call that one script. So we will use that to create the functions that we need to communicate with the you could put them in the same editor, but I like to separate them just for wow, for good measure. So we need startup. There we go, and then we need script. Okay, let's compile and see if it's happy. It's happy. Excellent. And these missing file messages, they are kind of strange, but let's just ignore them. Okay, so let's think about it. So not think about this, because what we need is to do Microsoft. This is the startup one. So Microsoft dynamics.nav. And this is the one that always kills me. Invoke extensibility method. Control ready. Extensibility method. I think I'm okay here. And with no parameters, so we will tell BC that this is loaded. So if we need to do other things on startup before we tell Business Central that we're ready, we would do it up here. But now we're just saying we're ready, because otherwise you can end up in the situation where you just start to use a control before it's ready. So let's. So this is an event. So in order for that to work, we need to go back to our control add-in here, and then actually we need to give it some breathing room. We need to let's make sure that it will actually just be on the screen, and requested height. Let's do 450. That's a good number. So what we need to do is we need to add the control ready. So what we called back, wow, don't make mistype. I'm mistyping the drinking game today. Then you get drunk. Control ready. So this is an event. So we'll have to make sure that that's defined as an event. Okay. So the next thing we need to do now is we need to initialize this, and I like to do this. You can do it in the startup script. I prefer to do it from the BC side. So I would let's add a procedure here called init, meaning that we would want to tell it to initialize. So that I would add in here, if I can write function. And remember, if we go back to this guy, so let's copy these 3 lines here. So this is what we want to do, basically. But first of all, I think we need to preserve this guy. So let's put him in the global space here. And then here there's a div called editor, but we really don't need a div. We have a div. There's a div ready for us. So we might as well just use that. And that div is called control add-in. Actually capital I also, I think. So that's the div inside the iframe. So whenever Business Central is rendering the control add-in, you get an iframe, and inside the iframe you get a div, and that's where you need to put your stuff. So that's what we're telling it. And then set theme Monokai, no, we want Dracula. And we set mode, that should be Pascal. So that's pretty nice. Okay, so I think it's time for us to actually test page. So we need a page for this, right? Source editor, test page. Page type is card, layout, area, content, and now we'll do user control. Remember my thong. I tried to make one word out of add-in control and user control to make it user add-in. So that's the weirdness that confuses a lot of people, that you create a control add-in, but when you put it on a page, it's suddenly a user control. Make no sense, but we'll deal with it. Let's call it editor, and we'll grab our source editor. Okay. So a bit of housekeeping. Application area equal all, it's always good. Then remember, we created a trigger, the control ready trigger. So let's fill that out. And now we can do current page dot editor dot init. So now we go, so as soon as we have procedures defined here, in this case init, it's available through the IntelliSense, and it's available here. So let's see if we're 55500. Let's just put that in launch JSON. Let's run it. Let's see how bad I did. Success. So at least the package has been compiled. So this is a good start. And I'm running on a Docker-based Business Central 17.2, I think, something. Very exciting. Very exciting. Come on, wake up. There you go. Hello. You see this great editor? So if I and let me just make this bigger. So the color scheme matches, right? It's pretty close to the color scheme. So Dracula, we clearly have Pascal-based syntax highlighting, because procedure test, begin, write line test. So that's an editor. Okay. So that was easy. That was not much work. So let's try to load some data, because that might be the next thing. Let's get data in and out of this control. So I think if we go back to this page and we can find this, and here is a the API reference. I think somewhere there is a list of, all the functions that's in here. Tons of function. And And we can see set value gets a string, replaces all the lines in the current document with the value of text. So let's try to implement that. So we'll go back and then so whenever you're creating the procedures for something like that, when you're implementing a control like this, you have a choice to make, and the choice is basically between two options. One is that you decide just to expose the API that's available in the control that you're that you're implementing. So in that case, you would do something like this. The other way is that which is great from a perspective of this method is great because then it's documented and it's kind of obvious if you figure out what the function is of the thing you're implementing. The other way is to adapt the functionality to the situation that you're actually implementing this in. So in that case, you would probably go say load document doc text. That's a text. Wow, that's a text. I'm not able to type tonight. I'm so very sorry, guys. And I don't know which method is best. I tend to do the latter simply because I find that I'm not gonna implement. In this case, this editor has hundreds of functions. I'm not going to implement all of them, so I'm not going to give people false hope, and I kind of would rather try to indicate what it is. But I can totally see the value in doing it this way. So anyway, what we need to do is, of course, to implement that function. So we can do set value. Apparently we cannot because I'm not able to type it. Set value. What did I call it here? Value, capital V. So that would be editor.set value with value. So let's implement the other one also, and which is basically the same. So I forgot what I named it. Load document. Wow, editor.set value doc text. So now we should be able to on a test page go and say cur page.editor. I'll grab load value in this case, and then say procedure test a integer something like that. Right, that's sort of HTML or Pascal, sorry. And we're deploying again. So deployment times, that's actually an interesting discussion. So now we got our data in here, so that's pretty nice. So deployment time is, of course, a function of the size of the control add-in, or the entire app, I should say. But in this case, it's mostly our control add-in that's the culprit. So in this case, if I go here and I have 4.1 megabytes of JavaScript in this one. So if you grab all 200 languages, it's going to be a huge app, and the deployment time will suffer from it. So only include what you actually need. But right now we have hard-coded that this is an Pascal editor. So perhaps we want to improve that a bit. So we added a line here saying set mode. So perhaps we should not do that. But what about if we instead, wow, function, and I'm gonna call it set language. Call this one language, and then it will be editor.set editor.session. We can see up here. Let's just copy paste this. And you can see it says ace/mode/ the name of it. So let's actually do something like this. Language. So now we have a pretty nice way of telling that. We need to add the set language as a procedure in our control.n. Procedure set language. That's a text. So now we can go here and on our test page, and let's just make sure, because now up here we loaded Pascal. So we need to make sure that the source code is available. So in this case, let's add JSON. Yeah, that's fine. So we have Pascal and JSON. You guys get it that I could add many of these. So in this case, let's go back here and then do cur page editor.set language and JSON. So now we probably do not want to load this one, cur page editor load document, and then let's do something like I think that's valid JSON. Let's try it. And now deployment was quick. So yeah, as you can see now, this is nicely formatted JSON. And even with a bracket thingy that figures out what bracket goes together. So that's pretty nice. So let's do, time is flying, so let's do one more thing. So let's say that we want to save this one. So the weird thing about control.ns is that it's asynchronous, meaning that let's say that we want to save. So the data is sitting in the control lane. Now we need to get it into AL and use the value. So we will create a procedure called save that would return a text. This is perfect. And there we go. With one little issue here. A method save cannot have a return value. So no procedure talking with a control.n can have a return value. So we need to make this a two-step because this is asynchronous. So what we're going to do is instead, let's call this request save. So we ask the control.n nicely, so please, can we save this? And then we would create a procedure, but we, wow, my fingers just typed exit. We will create an event. And let's call that event for save requested. And we will get a text back. So that's pretty nice. So what we need to do now is create a function. Call, what, I forgot the name now, request save. No parameters, and I'm just about to type begin end here, but that really would not work. And now we need that this long guy here, and in this guy, you should actually, if you really want to know how this one works, I'm just using it very simple. Reliable, it works, but very simple. In some cases, this function requires a bit more finesse. And Vieco has done now several videos on that specific subject. And you should totally go see these great videos. You should follow his channel right after you make sure that you're subscribed to my channel, of course. Anyway, so we'll use this guy to send the data into BC again. So in this case, we will have, and what was the function's name we created here, or the event name called save requested. And you can see that the next parameter here, if you remember on the startup, we're just adding an empty array. So because there aren't any parameters to control really, there's nothing to tell, but in this case there is something to tell. So we better tell it. And what we need to do is, if we go back to this guy somewhere here, scroll up and look, there it is, get value. Return all the lines in the document as a single string split by the new line character. That's exactly what we need. Get value. So bingo, that's what we need. And we need to put it in the square editor dot get value as the single parameter. If our, so in case an event can have multiple parameters, so we could do something here that's an int. In that case, we need to think of the parameters as an array, so that in that case we will just add that comma something and we have multiple values, but we only have one. Okay, so now we have the event created. We're calling the event on our function, so the only thing needed is to create a trigger. And we can see that now we have save requested and we get the source. So we can do a message, the source is, there we go. And now we will probably need to add some way of actually calling the request data. So let's add an action to the page. That was sloppy of me. Magic works sometimes, but in other cases you really need to add a bit of your own magic. And in this case, the magic is an action called save. And I'm gonna promote this guy. I'm gonna promote it in the processing area. I'm gonna promote it as big, and I'm gonna promote it only. How's that for promotion? And I'm gonna give it a caption called save. You want to give it a shortcut key, control. I can't even. This doesn't work. Forget the shortcut key. Let's do that at a later time. So let's just add a trigger on action. In this case, we want to do curve page editor request save. So we need to trigger this one. Let's see if this works. Now we have save up here, so we hit save and we get the message the source is. So now we have the complete circle that we can load a value into the editor, and we can request the data out of the editor again. I can't remember, did I include the, I did include the search box as an extension. I added that to here. So I added the search box, and we have that. And as you can see with the set value, there's a bunch of stuff. So if you need to do specific things, that's all you have to do, is to extend the add function to other methods here on the control. This editor is very, very reliable, and I can just, as for all of you who actually are still with me 36 minutes later, let me show you just a tiny treat here. So this is BC script, and you can see here I have pretty much the same as what we just did. I think I have a few more functions, so I can search from outside, I can set the font size, I can load and use request save. Set language is pretty much the same. But you see this one, set language BC script. So this is because normally BC script is just Pascal, so Pascal works fine, but I'm working on a secret. I'm not supposed to tell you, but so BC script mode, I'm not going to show this, I'm just going to show the file. So BC script is, remember the PHP. So in this case we got let's see what we got here first. We got JavaScript. Tons of JavaScript. We got HTML. And there's still more HTML, lots of HTML. Let's see where this will take us. And then we got Pascal, meaning AL. So think about a web page with AL inside it. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, so I built the source editor for that in Ace by combining those two, and works very well. Anyway, that might be a subject for another video. This might come up, you never know. If you would like to see, then comments below, you know the drill. Anyway, it's pitch black outside. I need to go to bed. I hope that you can use the Ace editor in your projects. I use it a lot in different things. We have another web product where we use this for HTML and for displaying JSON in a third project. Works tremendously well. Anyway, that's it for tonight, I guess it is by now. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Take care. Bye.